Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So, it's time for a franchise ranking video today for a video game franchise. And this is a franchise I've been long awaiting to talk about and to rank. And it's a franchise I've recently also completed finally, and I'm so glad to finally have done so I can do this ranking video. This is a PlayStation exclusive franchise, and it's probably my favourite PlayStation exclusive franchise of all time, and one of my favourite game franchises in general. And this franchise as well also involves, of course, platforming and action against various mythologies, being Greek and Norse. And this franchise I'm going to be ranking from best to weakest, in my personal opinion, is none other than a franchise of God of War. So, I of course have the games here physically, of course. There's some games I play digitally, but most games I do have, of course, physically, which I'll be showing. So, this ranking will include the main console games of a franchise. I will not be counting any like mobile or like card-based games in the franchise, or any games where Kratos, the main character, appears as a guest character, like for example Mortal Kombat 2011 or Soul Calibur Broken Destiny. I'm not going to include those in this ranking. This will be for main games of a franchise. This one best weakest in my personal opinion, so if you guys don't agree, that's absolutely fine, but please respect my opinion just like I respect yours. So, now starting with what is my all-time favourite game in the franchise. This is one of my favourite games of all time, and it's also, for me, my favourite game based on Greek myth of all time as well. And it's none other than, of course, 2010's God of War 3. And I play this remastered on PS4. And this game, for me, is an absolute masterpiece. I love every single thing about this game. To me, it's the best in the franchise. And Kratos is one of my favourite game characters of all time, and it was this game that made him my favourite PlayStation character of all time as well. I just absolutely love Kratos. And he's easily my favourite role of T.C. Carson of all time. T.C. Carson's an amazing voice actor. And I definitely consider Kratos to be his best role of all time. And no one, in my opinion, can play Kratos better than him. And I was definitely just really impressed with this game. I must also, as well, I'll say, the gameplay is absolutely awesome. And with an incredible story as well. And I will also, I'll say that in my opinion, this game has the best final fight in a video game history, where of course Kratos fights his own father, Zeus, who is also one of my favourite roles of all time for Corey Burton, who's also a great voice actor. And the graphics in this game are also, in my opinion, phenomenal. Considering this used to be a PS3 game from 2010, the graphics for this game are, in my opinion, phenomenal, and definitely, in my opinion, a step up compared to the graphics for the first two games, in my opinion, when it comes to a main trilogy. Just incredible, in my opinion. So, God of War 3 is my favourite out of the franchise, one of my favourite games of all time in general. One day I'll definitely post a review for this game because it's one of my favourite games of all time. If I was to give a score out of 10, I'll definitely give it, for me, a full-blown 10 out of 10. Just an absolute masterpiece. Everything that I want in a game was in this game, 100%. Just incredible. Then my second favourite is actually the last game in the Greek myth part of the franchise, and that, of course, is 2013's God of War Ascension. So I played this game last year when I got a PS3 for the first time. And I love this game just almost as much on the same level as God of War 3, but there's maybe one or two things which maybe play God of War 3 for. So, but the game, in my opinion, is absolutely awesome. Sadly, this was T.C. Carson's last time playing Kratos as well, before he got recast with Christopher Judge taking over. But in my opinion, he went out with a bang in this game, in my opinion. That's what I'll say, because I think his performance was absolutely amazing in this game. And I think it's also a prequel to the main games too as well. It definitely did a great job telling, of course, Kratos' origin story, if you will. I definitely really love that. And just like God of War 3, lots of really cool action scenes as well, and Kratos is an absolute badass character. What I also really appreciate about this game was also the inclusion of auto-saving, so you didn't have to go into like those bright orb things, you know, you stand in to save the game. It auto-saves for you, which is brilliant. So I did like that about it. I did something new for a change. And if you guys are, of course, multiplayer fans, then what's cool as well is this game actually has a multiplayer feature in it for any guys who play multiplayer. I don't personally, but it's there for you if you want to do that. The only nitpicks I have with this game is probably that some of the puzzles were definitely, in my opinion, really hard and pretty annoying, I must say, because they got a bit hard to do. I had to YouTube to solve them, but I felt like an absolute fool when I realised it was that easy all along to do them. But nonetheless, for my second favourite franchise, and I'll definitely give it also a 10 out of 10. Then on to what is my third favourite in the franchise is actually part of the second volume of the franchise, released in 2010, the same year as God of War 3, and that is the game God of War Ghost of Sparta, which is part of Volume 2's collection. This used to be, of course, a PSP exclusive game, but then got a PS3 remaster as part of this collection here, which I've played. And I think the game is once again amazing. You know, I didn't have much problems with it, you know, to make me, you know, dislike the game. I still thought it was a great game, in my opinion. Like, I really think they did a really great job with this game, in my opinion. That's what I'll say, really. You know, it was definitely, in my opinion, lots of fun. And I was definitely really pleased with it. And I think he did a very good job telling more to the story. And I love how he got the story of Kratos and his brother as well. I definitely love that in the game too as well. How he included that. One thing I could say is maybe some parts were once again really hard. Like several of like maybe the puzzles were, in my opinion, pretty tough to do, really. But nonetheless, I still think Ghost of Sparta is a great game too. And just like the first games I've talked about on this ranking, I'd also give it for me a 10 out of 10. But also, what is my third favourite is actually, of course, this franchise's second installment, of course, which is God of War 2. So, I'll play this game on PS Vita digitally because you can play, of course, the PSP God of War games and the first two games on PS Vita. I played God of War 2 on PS Vita, and I think it was also, in my opinion, a really awesome game. You know, because I really appreciate how they made it easier and more fun than the first game, in my opinion. I'm not saying the first game was bad, but I like how they made the sequel easier and more fun, in my opinion, I must say. And much more easy to understand for me as well, really. And Kratos was definitely, once again, a really awesome character in the second game of the franchise, like it always has been. And I definitely really loved it, because it was definitely a great game, with lots of great boss fights too, I must say. And I love how this game also introduced Sakura Person as Zeus as well, and he did a great job watching Zeus in this game. And the game was definitely lots of fun. However, I wasn't getting bad qualities. There's a particular quick time event in this game which made me rage so much. Only once in the game though, and that's the bridge scene in the game, where you've got to, like, you know, jump over like a collapsing bridge and press the buttons. Like, I raged so much playing that part of the game. I don't know if it's because the PS Vita version is not as good as the PS2 or PS3 version. I'm not back because I'm not playing the PS3 or 2 versions of the game. But that part was just so rage-inducing. I nearly gave up on the game. But after many tries, I finally got through it. Like, I think quick time events in this game were hard, in my opinion. That's probably the only thing we could have with this game. So, because of that one part of the game, I'd probably give the game maybe something like maybe a 9.5 out of 10. That's what I'll give it. Then on to my fifth favourite is the other part of Volume 2 of the franchise, which is Chains of Olympus. So, it's a great game in my opinion, and continues the consistency of what makes a franchise really good, in my opinion, when it comes to a great myth here of a franchise, absolutely. With lots of really cool moments, in my opinion. And I especially like the scenes with Kratos and his daughter in this game as well. Definitely, in my opinion, a highlight. It was definitely, in my opinion, really good. And however, if I was thinking of the nitpick of this game, it's probably that, in my opinion, it's way too short. Because compared to Ghost of Sparta, which in my opinion was really well paced and laid out as a game, Chains of Olympus, in my opinion, was rushed because it literally took me about 2 days to complete it. 2 days. Whereas the other games, it took me way more than that to complete them. So I don't understand why it was so short, in my opinion. Like, I don't get it. Like, you'd think it'd be longer, especially because the other game of Volume 2 is longer for me. Like, I thought this game would be long too, but it was all before I knew it. So what I'll say is the game is awesome, but in my opinion, way too short. So, if I was to give it a score out of 10, I'd probably give it a very solid score of 9 out of 10 for me. But on to my sixth favourite is actually the first part of the Norse era of a franchise, and that, of course, is God of War 2018. Same title as the first game, but, you know, released in 2018. So, this game, in my opinion, is incredible. That's what I'll say, really. But there's some parts of it which made me prefer the games I just talked about. So, Christopher Judge, of course, makes a deal with Kratos in this game. And I think he did a great job playing Kratos in this game, because he gave an amazing performance in this game. Definitely, in my opinion, one of the best game performances I've ever seen, in my opinion. And he's definitely my second favourite Kratos after T.C. Carson. And I think he did a really good job. And I liked as well how they, of course, introduced a new setting, of course, which was of course, with Norse mythology this time. So I like how they did something different for a change this time. And they gave a new story to Kratos, where he's now got a son being Atreus. And I definitely, as well, really liked Atreus in this game. I think he was definitely, in my opinion, a very likeable character alongside Kratos. And definitely, in my opinion, and I definitely think that Christopher Judge and also, as well, Sonny Suljic definitely did a very good job playing in Kratos and Atreus when it comes to their chemistry in this game, in my opinion. And I definitely really love that. And the gameplay, in my opinion, was really good too as well, I must say too, with also great graphics as well. And it's also really sad how this game, you know, does Norse mythology way better than Assassin's Creed Valhalla 2 years later. That's just so sad in my opinion. And speaking of mythology as well, what I really appreciate about this game is, even though it's taking place in a new story and like a new place, it does, however, though, connect to old games, because we, of course, hear references to a Greek myth part of the franchise, and we even get flashbacks, of course, with visions of Zeus, we call Burton the his other cameo appearances, and we even get to see a flashback of Zeus's final moments where Kratos beats him to death. But I just wish we got T.C. Carson to reprise all that flashback scene, really, rather than just have Christopher Judge read double lines over, because it felt really weird in my opinion, though. But it was still really cool to see that scene, though, as like a nice connection to old games. And of course, Kratos gets of course, his Blades of Chaos back, which I really loved. Because not only does he use his axe in this game, of course, which is probably his main weapon in the Norse era, he still uses Blades of Chaos, which I really appreciated. But of course, I could say is, obviously, of course, I did miss T.C. Carson as Kratos, because he's my favourite Kratos, and I personally was really a fan of how Kratos became really calm in this part of the franchise. Even God of War Kratos wasn't a fan of that change either, and I don't blame him, because I'm not a fan of it either. Like, I kind of wish that Kratos was still, in my opinion, you know, the angry, fearless character that he always has been, because I love that part of Kratos, really. Like, these characters in the Norse part of the game franchise are so lucky they didn't meet the side of Kratos we saw in the Greek myth part of the franchise when he was younger. They're so lucky we didn't meet young Kratos, because they'd have probably been killed in seconds, maybe even 1 second or a nanosecond, because how powerful he was. And some puzzles, in my opinion, are also pretty hard to do as well, I must say too. And when it comes to a game's villain, Baldur, he was, in my opinion, a little bit annoying. Still played really well in the game, you know, when it comes to acting. But I still wasn't a fan of the character, to be completely honest, because I thought he was pretty annoying. I mean, Jeremy Davis was good as him, but the character, in my opinion, was annoying, I'll say that. So I felt very satisfying to defeat him. So, because it was by quality, I'd probably give this game a 9 out of 10. Despite what the issues have, it does deserve the acclaim that it got. Then after that, I'm going to go with, of course, in 7th place, which is actually the next game in the franchise, the latest one too, which is God of War Ragnarok. So just like the 2018 game, it's a great game, but there's some parts of it where I personally prefer the 2018 game. And that's probably for me the story, because the story is good, in my opinion, and it does carry over the same gameplay as 2018 with new things added to it. One thing it does, which is definitely brand new, is you get to play as Atreus, which is interesting. It's the first game in a franchise where you play as other characters too, not just Kratos on his own. So that was definitely a change, which I thought was interesting. His gameplay is almost the same as Kratos, as Atreus is. The only thing is he uses bow and arrow, really, as his main weapon of choice, really. And of course, Kratos uses his axe and Blades of Chaos, really. That's a difference, really. But when it comes to the story, though, of this game, I personally did not like how they made Atreus really unlikable for most of the game. That really annoyed me. Like, come on, that's not Atreus. That's why I think he's much better than 2018 game, in my opinion. And the villains, in my opinion, were also good too. My favourite villain in the game was Thor, voiced by Ryan Hurst. I think he did a good job playing Thor. As for Odin, Richard Schiff was good as Odin, in my opinion, but in my opinion, he was nowhere near as intimidating as Zeus when it comes to being a main villain. I thought he was a little bit bland and too calm, in my opinion. Like, compared to Zeus, he wasn't as intimidating, in my opinion. Zeus, in my opinion, was way more powerful and intimidating when you compare him to Odin, in my opinion. That's what I'll say, really. So Ragnarok is a good game, in my opinion, but slightly weak in terms of story and characters than the first game of the Norse era of a franchise, in my opinion. That's what I'll say. The gameplay is still good, and I like how they added more places to visit to in the somewhat open world of this franchise, because it's almost like an open world franchise in the 2018 and Ragnarok games, but not entirely, really, because it's pretty linear, but still explorable, but you can revisit them too as well. So, and of course, unfortunately, this game was also written by Sweet Baby Stink, as I call them too, which also sucks. But it's slightly more tolerable compared to the next games that Sweet Baby Stink wrote. That's what I'll say. So if I was to give Ragnarok a score out of 10, just like the 2018 game, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. But I think the 2018 game is better when it comes, of course, to the you know, the gameplay and the story, in my opinion. Well, that's what I'll say, really. And then on to what is my least favourite in the franchise. This is in terms of gameplay, not in terms of the story, because that's probably my least favourite in terms of story, but my least favourite for the gameplay, though, would have to be the original game from 2005. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad game. No, I think it's a great game, like the rest of the franchise certainly is. And he does a great job in introducing Kratos to a franchise of PS2 games as a beloved fan favourite character that he is. And TC Carson absolutely nailed it in his debut as Kratos. And the gameplay, in my opinion, is really good and fun. I really liked it in the game. And he did a great job in introducing us to the characters and building the world of, the Greek myth era of a franchise. I love that. And I thought it was really good. And did a brilliant job, of course, telling the story as well. But if I don't give bad qualities, though, I'd say the gameplay, in my opinion, was probably the hardest in this game compared to the rest of the franchise. Because, unlike, of course, God of War 2, there was only that one part, which was a bridge collapse, which I raged over. There was several parts of this game where I raged a lot. For example, the parts where you got to climb over that massive deep area in the lava area. You got to jump over those things which are spinning around. That part was just so hard for me, especially because the camera's fixed and you can't see what's ahead of you. You got to be really careful, and I was just so annoyed by that. And also as well, some of the bosses towards the end of the game were also a pain to and must also add to. And also as well, the parts we got to climb up those ladder things which are spinning, you got to oil the blades on them. That part was just so hard for me. Like so many screams of rage when that happened, but thankfully after many tries, I got through it and I completed the game. There was even some parts when I gave up on the game and took a break from it. I played God of War 2 instead. But thankfully I finished the game eventually, though, after I gave it a try. I gave it a try and thankfully I finished it. But it was really horrible in my opinion. So that's why I say out of the franchise, it's the weakest for the gameplay. But if I was to give it a score out of 10, it's still a good game in my opinion. Does the rest of the franchise, so I'll probably give it a solid 8 out of 10. That's what I give it. So guys, that was, of course, me doing my ranking of the God of War franchise from best to weakest. In future, I will definitely do reviews for the games, absolutely. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let in the comments what you guys think of God of War. How would you guys rank the games? Let me know how you'd rank them in the comments below. Also, be sure to join Team Fan by pressing subscribe for coming in the future. And I'll see you all later.